When we think about the origins of shred guitar, names like Yngwie Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert, Marty Friedman often come to mind. But there's someone who was blazing the trails years before them, a German virtuoso who fused classical music, psychedelic rock and breathtaking technique. We're talking about Uli Jon Roth. Hey Guitar Champion, what's going on? I'm Justin Hornbach, back from my practice dojo, and welcome to today's video. One thing that I love to do is to find out who were the heroes of my heroes. Who is the main inspiration, the main influence for people who are my main inspiration, my main influence. And I guess you feel also sometimes like an adventurer trying to find out who was the number one. The one who started it all. And therefore, I want to create this little series here on my YouTube channel called The History of Shred, where I take a closer look to the most important heroes of our heroes on a monthly basis. So if you are new to this channel, of course, hit the subscribe button, because today we're not only talking about Uli Jon Roth and finding out why he was so important, but we are also going to learn licks from him where we can see, oh yeah, Marty Friedman, Paul Gilbert, Jason Becker, they all listened to Uli Jon Roth. And we will try to recreate one of his signature sounds from the 70s. So I would say, let's get into it. Let's start with the beginning. Uli Jon Roth, aka Ulrich Roth, was born in Düsseldorf, Germany in 1954. He picked up the guitar at the age of 13 and was heavily influenced by the greats of the 1960s, most notably Jimi Hendrix, who remained his biggest inspiration throughout his life. Other important influences were Ritchie Blackmore and classical composers like Johann Sebastian Bach or Vivaldi. In the early 70s, Uli played in a band called Dawn Road. This band eventually merged with the Scorpions. Uli's first album with the Scorpions was Fly to the Rainbow. And there we can already hear and experience that Uli from the start had a unique vision, blending the raw power and freedom of rock guitar with the structure and the elegancy of classical music. But still pretty heavily inspired by Jimi Hendrix, though, that you can hear here and there that he really likes to get out of that typical bluesy pentatonic playing and starts to include some more scale ideas and even some modal ideas like the Dorian mode or the Lydian mode. But not only did Uli play the guitar on that record, he also took the duty of vocalist on one song called Drifting Sun. And he did some weird storytelling in the title track Fly to the Rainbow. Here in that record you can also clearly hear that the roots of the Scorpions are not only rock and roll or the beat music from the 60s, but also crowd rock and psychedelic rock, especially in the title track. Throughout the next record, Uli is more and more developing his unique and own kind of style. The follow-up record from the Scorpions, In Trance, I can highly recommend the song In Trance. Especially the end melody is a melody that I absolutely fell in love with while doing my researches and checking out Uli for the first time. Because here I have to say I never really was into the style and the music of Uli. Not because I don't like it, but more because I wasn't aware of his music. Even though that I knew him personally a little bit. I don't think that he will remember me, but in 2011 I was part of a German-wide guitar competition called the Crossroads competition. And there Uli was one of the judges and somebody who gave a masterclass. And this masterclass was about improvisation. It was really interesting. We were like 10 guitar players in that room, and he arranged us and conducted us like an orchestra, like saying, hey, you only play the bass, you only play a rhythm part, you only play the melody, and everybody was then standing up doing a solo guitar. Well, not me, because I forgot a strap, so I had to do it sitting down, but that was quite a really interesting experience. All of the contestants who were invited to that competition, and nowadays like bigger names in the German guitar scene and also in the international guitar scene. We had JTC artist Michael Wagner, who even won, I believe, the competition. Then also Nico Schliemann, the second guitar player from the Martin Miller band, and David Klosinski, who is now the third or second, I don't know, but he is the rhythm guitar player in the Uli Jon Roth band, and a really great guitar player and guy. But I always had that thought like, okay, I'm a shrapnel guy, I like speed, I like fast, high gain, 80s heavy metal, hell yeah. Yeah, and you know, Uli Jon Roth wasn't the same kind of bass like Ritchie Blackmore from Deep Purple, something that I had a lot of respect to, but I never got really into it. So I thought, hey, now it's time to educate myself and to get a little bit into Uli Jon Roth, and I discovered some really great great music. Again, the stuff that I'm going to show you in today's video. Speaking of music, the next record, 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙚𝙀, here Uli began to incorporate more neoclassical ideas, particularly harmonic minor runs and arpeggios. But I personally can highly recommend the song 𝙬𝙬𝙀, where you can hear some sort of funky influences. They had a lot of fun constructing this slide kind of ideas, and it's something where you can definitely tell that Yngwie was listening to that song a lot, because phrasing wise and vibrato wise, this reminds me of some of the blues and funk rock songs that Yngwie has done, like I Don't Know, for example, from Magnum Opus, I believe. In 1977 they released Taken by Force, and Taken by Force is probably the most famous record from the Uli Jon Roth era in Scorpion, because there we have one song who started it all, The Sails of Charon. You probably have heard that song before. If not, let me tell you, this was the first time where we got that merge between, you know, bluesy Jimi Hendrix, blues rock kind of idea and philosophy, and the Phrygian dominant harmonic minor kind of sounds that was probably inspired by some classical music. Here we already have a lot of tropes and trademarks that later will become extremely important for the shred music of the 80s, like a specific lick that we're going to check out in the lick section that definitely, you know, Marty Friedman and Jason Becker was listening a lot to, but also playing diminished chords and diminished arpeggios to substitute a dominant 7-flat 9 chord, and something that players like Yngwie Malmsteen, Jason Becker, Petrucci, Jeff Loomis, all of them are doing constantly. And we also have He's a Woman, She's a Man, which is, yeah, kind of the prototype heavy metal song. But for all the 4 records Uli was involved, Flying to the Rainbow, In Trance, 𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙀, and Taken by Force, if you want to get into the Uli Jon Roth style during his Scorpions era, I highly recommend to check out Tokyo Tapes. I think this live record was extremely influential for so many bands and musicians out there, because the extended songs, the jams, the solo that he's playing there, and just the fun and the attitude that he brings on stage is really perfect. I love his phrasing, I love his timing and his vibrato merged together with some of the first shreddy neoclassical kind of ideas. Highly recommend to check out this live record. And I think live records are always a good chance to get into the band, because in a live record you often have the best of the best songs that they want to perform live. So I always recommend, if you want to get into a band that you don't know yet, check out their live records. But Uli will not stop here. Even though that he left the Scorpions after the Tokyo Tapes, he started his own band called Electric Sun. He formed Electric Sun, initially a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, and the first 2 albums, Earthquake from 1979 and Firewind from 1981, showcase Uli deep connection to psychedelic blues rock. But now don't get scared by the word psychedelic, there's still a lot of great guitar playing and guitar soloing in it. Especially the song Still So Many Lives Away has a solo which is just pure magic, and you can hear so many tropes that later Vinnie Moore, for example, used. Superimposing chords, not only like the usual diminished over the B dominant to create the B 7-flat 9 arpeggio, but also stuff that I explained a lot here on this channel. E major over A major to create an A major 7-9 sound, and much more of these kind of really cool ideas. And 2 licks of that solo is also in the lick section of today's video. However, by the 3rd album, Beyond the Astral Skies from 1985, Uli had entered an entirely new phase. Here he unveiled the Sky guitar. Now let's talk about the Sky guitar really quickly, because that's a really interesting piece of art when it comes to guitars. This is a truly revolutionary instrument. This guitar has up to 20 frets, a radical scalloped fretboard, extended upper range registers for violin-like tones. With the pickups, for example, that he has in the Sky guitar, he can create, how he described it, the female character of a strut sound, but also the male harshness of a Les Paul. There's a pretty cool interview from Premier Guitar where he's talking more about this guitar, and I highly recommend to check that out as well, because there he's demonstrating really perfectly the dB boost that he has in that guitar. His pickups need electricity, but a 9-volt block battery is unfortunately not enough, so he has a power source just for his guitar on his pedal board. It was really interesting to hear that dB boost, because he was playing a really beautiful clean sound, perfectly clean kind of sound, and then he was hitting that knob and woof, all of a sudden we have not high gain but cranked up distorted sound, and that coming alone from the guitar was really interesting. And the pickups You probably will think, wait a second, that's only one pickup in the guitar. No, he has a middle pickup and a neck pickup, but they are hidden under the fretboard. I don't know how they're doing it. After, I believe, the 27 frets, he does not have halftone steps anymore because that's impossible to play from the spacing. So he created frets that are whole tone frets. On other iterations of that guitar, he just had the fretless fretboard over the 27 fret. And I mean, I own a 27 fret guitar, the Ibanez RGA62XH, and I talked in my latest video about Stefan Forte's new signature with the 27 frets. So I can totally understand why people want to have more frets, because the accessibility is just easier. And it also was a musical decision for Uli, because with the 27 frets or the extended range in the upper registers over the 27 frets, he can also have those high-pitched, violent kind of sounds and nuances, which I really start to like. And when you know this channel, you know that I really dig this kind of sound. This is why this 7 string over here, this one here, has not a low B string, but it has a high A string to create a similar kind of effect. Really like this kind of style, and really think, why aren't more guitar players doing it like Uli, or trying to get into the higher registers instead of always going to the lower register, which is also cool and fine, but hey, I like it higher and faster as well. In the 1990s and the 2000s, Uli shifted more and more towards classical composition. He composed full orchestral works such as Metamorphosis of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, performing it live with guitar and orchestra. And of course we have the prologue to the Symphonic Legends, a full fusion of orchestra and electric guitar. And then in 2000 we have the Transcendental Sky guitar record, a live record where he's playing old stuff, where he's playing some Jimi Hendrix stuff, but also has like the opener that later becomes, I believe, the opener always for his setlist, the Sky Overture. And I remember watching a video on YouTube like 18 years ago of a live version of that song. And that was the first time I really discovered Uli John Roth, and I really dig this song. Unfortunately, I never got more into the style of Uli till the last month, but there I already realized, wow, that's groovy, that has a great melody to it, some really cool arpeggios. I like what he's doing there. Today, Uli continues to tour internationally, performing both his classical works and classic Scorpions material. So that was a short overview of the history of Uli John Roth. Of course, trying to tell a whole career in 10-15 minutes is impossible, but I hope I gave you some inspiration to check out. And now it's time to learn some licks from Uli. Here we go. So the first lick that I have here for you is the famous Sales of Charon lick, and it goes like this. Slowly, it goes like this. We are on the key of E minor and we're starting on the B. And we have on the B string always a hammer-on and a pull-off. Going descending the scale. And for the right hand, we sweep from the E string to the B string. And then we're playing on the G string a downstroke. On the E string we always have the fifths of the second note of the B string. So we're going down a power chord. And then on the G string we have the note that comes next when we're descending the scale. Combining both we have Now for the right hand, for the sweeping, I highly recommend to have the upward pick slant direction. When it comes to sweeping, the pick slanting rule is the opposite. Usually when we play alternate picking, we want to have the tip of the pick free in the air, but when we're sweeping, we want to have the tip of the pick stuck between the strings because we need that space for the rest stroke, the most important movement in sweeping. I really like this lick because it's really unique. It's really something by itself that we don't play so often, and it's not that easy. But I will definitely try to include this into my playing and into my improvisation because it sounds so refreshing, because not many players are playing licks in a style like this. Alright, let's continue to the second lick. And again, don't forget to download the tabs for free. Just check the link in the description box. Alright, and lick number 2 goes like this. we have this kind of scale, which is a fusion between Phrygian dominant and the blues scale, because we are in E, we have the normal E minor scale, and then adding to the minor 7 we also have the major 7. I heard about this lick the first time when I was watching a video from my good friend Ďeďa Tyska, aka Mr. Fastfinger, and I really like this lick because the phrasing and the timing, it's really fitting to this kind of shuffle groove that the Scorpions had in the early days. Let me play that slow again for you. Alright, lick number 3 is a pretty famous one from Ulis John Roth, and it goes like this. This is the lick in the whole tone scale based on an augmented sound, an augmented chord, in this case D sharp augmented, which is coming from B augmented, the dominant, and when you are on the B Phrygian dominant scale, and having B as your related root note, you also have the fifths, but also the augmented fifths, but as well the major third. So you have an augmented chord. And the scale that is fitting over the augmented chord is the whole tone scale. So we're starting here with D sharp, and we're just going one whole tone step higher. So we're starting with D sharp. And the first time where he's playing that scale ascending, he's not playing the fully whole tone scale, he's skipping over certain notes. And he's only playing this 2-note per string pattern. This is a pattern or like a phrase that you often hear in more modern progressive shred players, like for example Petrucci is using this kind of pattern in the Beyond This Live solo from the Scenes from a Memory record. And after we've played this 2-note per string ascending run, we are going to 3-note per string. And the cool thing is about the 3-note per string run in the whole tone scale, it's symmetrical. So we can stay with this finger shape and this finger position, we're just moving it around. So really fun lick, we only have to be aware of the jump between the G and the B string. Here the position shift is changing a little bit. Before that we can always jump 1 fret higher when we're going to the next ascending string. But when we're going from the G to the B string, we have to jump 2 frets higher. The fourth lick is a lick that could basically be right off the vocabulary of Jeff Loomis or Marty Friedman. And I was really surprised listening to that lick the first time, like, okay, wow, that's actually a pretty modern lick, already played in the early 80s, late 70s by Ulis John Roth. It goes like this. Play this a little bit faster and with sweep, and you have, you know, the perfect Jeff Loomis style kind of diminish lick. Here we are basically outlining a diminished chord, playing this ascending and descending. I would also sweep this, so pull off, sweep, sweep, ham on, sweep, sweep. And then we're adding to that the chromatical run, descending and ascending. The fifth lick is from the song Still So Many Lives Away, and it goes like this. And slow like this. And what we're doing here is we are on the key of B minor, and we're starting off with a typical blues phrase, the typical kind of blues rock phrase. And then we're sliding to an F sharp minor 7 arpeggio. And by that we are creating a B minor 7/11 sound. And then we'll continue descending through the scale to resolve back to B. And the last lick is also from that solo, and it's something where I would say, okay, Vinnie Moore definitely checked out or transcribed that lick, even though that Vinnie Moore would pick everything, and here we are now playing a lot with pull-offs, and it goes like this. Here now we are in the key of A Lydian, and we're starting off with this descending run here. First two notes picked, the last one pulled, which is extremely unusual and confusing for me. Somebody who really likes to play everything picked, that is really, really confusing. But then we're going to the E and to the E D sharp, and sliding up to outlining, as I already mentioned, E major arpeggio, and sweeping it ascending again, and all of this over A to create this kind of A major 7/9 sound. And now let's find out if we can recreate his unique sound from the 70s. Here we go. So, and for this experiment I use my FM9, and I have nearly now the FM9 edit, and now I show you a really cool trick. For example, I'm definitely no expert when it comes to amps, to pedals, to cabinets, all these kind of things. I'm an expert in shredding, but not necessarily the sound, but I'm growing and I'm learning a lot when it comes to sound aesthetic and sound design. And one tool that helps me a lot with it, and I'm now doing no promotion for it, and I know it's a controversial tool, but it's actually ChatGPT. For example, I would now ask ChatGPT, hey Chat, give
a tutorial on how to get the 𝗚𝗚𝙤𝙤𝙤 sound from the, let's say, Taken by Force record by Scorpion. By the Scorpions. I am using a fractal FM9. Please do it for the fractal unit.
And the most important thing now when you're working with AI, thank you very much. Okay, let's see what it will give to me, what kind of information it will give to me. So chat is now recommending a few things. Basic tone corrector, guitar used by Ulis Symphonic. Okay, I don't have a Strat with me right now, I have the Ibanez, that's one thing. But amp, Marshall Plexi Super Lead JMP Era. This is key. On Taken by Force he used the Marshall Super Lead. I don't know if that is correct. Let's do the research real quickly. Yes, it seems to be that he was actually using a 1972 Marshall 100 watt Super Lead. So, and he is now, and that's the cool thing, he is showing me how to adjust everything in the FM9 unit, because the FM9 unit, you can do everything with the FM9 unit, but it is quite complex and you can get lost in all the possibilities that you have with the fractal unit. So blocks 2, let's go back to the FM9 edit. Now we have sound. So I had to adjust some things to get the sound, but yes, as I mentioned, or as I was thinking, no cabinet in between, that sounds like shit. So let's get the cabinet as quickly as possible. Here it stands, we have different kind of options. I will take the greenback, the fractals. I will take the greenbacks. Let me see if I can get those real quickly. Wow, that doesn't sound too bad already. And then, of course, using a little bit of my ear and checking with some isolated guitar tracks from Uli from the Sales of Karen, I can find out what is close to Uli's sound. So let me get a little bit more of gain in the amp. Yeah, I think that should be enough gain. Let me activate the coil split to get a little bit more of the Strat sound as well. Just a little bit more gain, probably. Alright. Alright, let's see what else I can add according to ChatGPT. Oh, now we can do another drive. Alright, let me take a tube drive, like a tube screamer. Alright, okay. Maybe a little bit less tone. More gain again. Alright, and now reverb. At least that is recommended by ChatGPT. Plate. Okay, let me adjust some things very quickly. Mix a little bit less. Decay. Boop. Yep, kind of like it. All right, let's see what we else have. Delay. All right, analog delay. So, and then time, we have 400 milliseconds. The mix should be around 12%. The mix should be around 12 to 15%. It is. Feedback 15 to 20. Okay, let's do 17. That's probably more for the lead channel or for the solo sound. I have some pretty nice dynamic range still. And an interesting development of the tone, and more I give it a tech. Oh, and then we have some performance tips from ChatGPT. Pick a tech, soft to medium, don't pick too hard. No, I will pick hard because I love picking hard. Well, anyways, don't pick too hard, let the amp compress naturally, okay? I would still say that you have enough dynamic range to do some harder pick attack to get some dynamics out of it. And some articulations. Okay, vibrato wide and slow. Ah, okay, it also tells me the Ulis signature vibrato, that it is wide and slow. I don't know if that is so true. From what I've heard, it seems more like Uli has like a faster vibrato and not too wide, to be honest. More, a little bit from the tempo wise, like BB, like Jimmy, but a little bit wider than BB, of course. Slow and wide vibrato would be for me more like. So after playing around a little bit, we get this kind of tone. Well, definitely not the sound that I would usually do, but like I always recommend is to play with different sounds, experiment with different sound, and especially practice with as diverse kind of sound situation that you can have. Not only practice with a high gain distortion, not only practice with a clean sound, but also practice with sounds that are in between that, like this one here. Because when you're practicing, for example, some picking runs, you can easily hear when the hand synchronization is off. Because not so much stuff will be compressed by the amp compared to a full high gain kind of sound. This sound now is a little bit too trebly for me, has a little bit too much presence, but sometimes you just have to get more used to specific sound just to play around with it. And then maybe I will give this sound a little bit more kind of a chance, more kind of a time to grow to my playing, because yeah, you never know. So this was the first episode of History of Shred. I hope you liked this little video. I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. I wish you a lot of fun learning, practicing and mastering the guitar. Cheers and power your progress. Bye.